guys, you're welcome back to Mitch Fits. Here we learn tips, tricks, and techniques of making beautiful and amazing outfits. Please, if this is your first time on my channel, hit on that subscribe button and click on the notification bell to always stay updated on all my tutorial videos. Please do not forget to drop your comments or your thoughts about this tutorial video, and also please give this video a thumbs up and help to share this video to others who you think might be interested to learn how to make this dress. For this dress, you'd be needing about 2 to 3 yards of Ankara fabric depending on your body size. So without wasting much time, let's dive straight into the tutorial. So guys, I have my fabric folded in two with my round hip measurement because we'll be cutting the skirt first. So if you check that skirt very well, you see the front is like a V shape. Now the first step you would want to take is to measure out where you want your Ankara to stop. That is the tip of the V shape. You can decide to make yours shorter or even longer, depends on what you would like. So this point I marked here is actually from my shoulder to my half length. That is where my half length stops. So I'm using that as a guide to start my waistline. So if I measure this out now, I would have the exact length I want for my Ankara skirt. So here I have about 17 inches, while the remaining part will be my seam allowance. I already included half an inch seam allowance at the waistline, so here now I'm going to take my waist measurement. I need you to take note that I usually don't use any dart lines for my front skirt pattern, so that's my waist divided by 4. So at this end I'll come down by 8, 9, 10, 11 inches. Why I did this is because at this point this is where the hips comes out the most, so this is where I'm going to be taking my hip measurement. Just to hint on this, some persons can be really tall while some not that tall, so this measurement varies. So now I'm going to put down my hip measurement divided by 4, and on the extreme end, which is on my hemline, I'll take same hip measurement divided by 4 because this is a straight skirt. So I'll connect these 3 points together now. So the next step I'm going to take is to include my side seam allowance, and I'll be using 2 inches for it. After doing that, I'm going to connect these points together, and here that I have the 8, 9, 10, 11 inches marked, I'll be using the last one, which is 11 inches, to cut my V shape. So I will just rule this out here and then connect from my center front to that point. So after connecting this will include my seam allowance for stitching the lower part, that is the hemline. But just know that you can decide to make your side seam shorter, that is starting before the hip line. So now I'm going to cut out this V shape, and this is how it looks like. I would take this away to arrange my fabric to cut my back skirt, and then I will bring it back. So I'm placing it on the fabric that I have arranged. Now I'm going to have my zipper allowance alteration, including my waist arcing. So for the first part I used 1.5 inches, for the middle one, which has my hip line, I used 2 inches, and on the hemline I used 1.5 inches. So I'm connecting all these points together, and after that I'll go to my side waistline to take my dart measurement. I'll be using 1 inch for my dart measurement, so I'll connect it back to my hip line. So the difference here is having darts on my back skirt and none on my front skirt. Not because it is bad, but because I usually don't like seeing dart lines on my front skirt. But if you wish to use dart lines for your front skirt, then that is actually fine. So now I'm cutting out my back skirt pattern, and this is how the both of them looks like right now. So you can see the V shape of the front and of the back. The back has its zipper allowance included, that is why you can see its difference from the way the front is shaped out. I'll take this away to cut out linings for them and also fuse the hemline with interface, but don't worry, I'll bring them back to explain why. So I have them back here, and I have my linings cut out but not fused with interface, that is on the hemline. So this is the main fabric, and you can see I fused the hemline like I said earlier. The reason I did this because I wanted to give this lower part some weight, because I'm going to be attaching something else to this end. So I want the hemline to be stable enough to hold it. So this is the front part of the skirt. You can see I also fused interface on it, and the interface I use here is cotton hairstay. So you can go ahead to follow same steps with your own measurements. All right, I'll take this away now and then we'll move to the next step. So guys, I have my top bodice armhole princess that bustier cutout pieces. These are all the pieces. This is my main fabric and then my lining. So I've already fused interface on the both of these pieces, in short in all pieces, and on my lining I fused with cotton hairstay. As you can see, for my main fabric I used wadding as my interface. I decided to use different interfaces for the both of them because I didn't want this dress to feel too padded. So the wadding is thicker than the cotton hairstay. The cotton hairstay is quite light and soft. So I decided to use it for my lining because I want my lining to still feel light after stitching. Though I fused wadding to only the front part of my main fabric while the back pieces are fused with stay. So for my lining I fused with stay only to keep it light. So guys, I have a very detailed tutorial on how to cut and stitch your armhole princess that I don't have it here in this tutorial because I want to keep it short. So please, you might want to go check that out, and also I'll leave the link in my description box so it will be easy for you to access. The tutorial has all the details of cutting this from start up to the stitching together of all these pieces. Now this is what I did for the center back main fabric, like I said earlier, fused with stay, and also the side back main fabric. So I'll take all these pieces away to stitch together and then I'll bring back to show you guys the next step. So I have the dart lines stitched together. This is my center and my side back stitched together. I'm going to trim off this little excess I have here, and this is the front piece with the dart lines stitched together. Guys, after watching the drafting, cutting and stitching of this princess dart, you would understand how this bust cup is being formed, and trust me, it's quite easy. So for this very tutorial I'll be showing you how to continue the stitching with my lining. As you can see, I have my lining stitched same way like my main fabric. The next step I'll be taking here is to first stitch the necklines together using my lining to turn these parts over, and also do same thing for the side seam. For the back piece, I'll be stitching the neckline, the center back, and also the side seam. So I'll take all these pieces away to work on and then continue with the skirt part. I have my center back stitched, that is the dart lines and the zipper allowance. I also turned over the sides with my lining, and I did the same thing for the front, turning over the sides with my lining. So next thing I'm going to do here is to shaping this skirt with my measurement, with my waist and my hip measurement. So I'll take this over to work on and I'll bring it back. So here is the top part. I have turned over the neckline and also the sides with my lining, and this is how it looks like on the inside. You can see how very beautiful it's looking really neat. So this is the lining part. You can see how I turned it over, looking really neat. Okay, the next step I'll be taking now is to stitch the two shoulders together, that is the back piece and the front piece. So I'll be using the back shoulder line to turn the front shoulder line. So just watch how I'm going to do it. So this is how to go about it. It's really easy. Just take the front shoulder line and place it in between the shoulder lines of the back main fabric and the lining, and then go ahead to stitch with half of an inch. So doing that will keep the seam allowance in and also give the shoulders a very neat look. Alright, I'll take this away to do just that, and also shaping the sides with my body measurement. Now I have my skirt worked on. I have shaping the sides, so you can see how it's looking right now, and this is the back view. And yes, I pressed every seams with my pressing iron. So I'll just go ahead to trim off this excess from the zipper allowance. After that, I'll bring back the top. As you can see, I have worked on it. I have held the shoulders and also the sides. So this is how it looks like on the back, and here is the front view. So now I'm going to be stitching the skirt part and the top together. I am going to hold this together on the waistline and cut out the fabric I'll be using to make the ruffles for the hemline. I'll take this away to go hold the waist together and then come back to cut the fabric for the ruffles. So here I have an organza fabric. So when you get to your local shops, just ask for an organza fabric and definitely they'll give you just what you asked for. So now I'm going to be dividing this fabric into three. First, you saw that I folded it in two, and then I'll be dividing it into three. So guys, my organza fabric is about 2.5 yards, but this depends on the volume you want to create for your ruffles, so you can decide to make it more or even less. That means if you want more gathers or less gathers, so that depends solely on you. Now that I have this measured, I'm just going to cut out to separate all these pieces. So I have about 6 pieces cut out from this organza, and I'm going to be doubling it. That means these 6 pieces will now become three. So after doing that, I'll take them and stitch them together by the edge to form one long piece, and then make a loose stitch on one side of it to draw my gathers. So I'll take this away to go do that, and I'll bring it back to show you guys. Now I have my Ankara ready. I have worked on it, held the waistlines together. So I have my ruffles worked on. You can see I lined it with a satin fabric. So now it's time to attach the ruffles to this hemline. But before you do that, you have to take the measurement of this lower part, that is the hemline, that is from the zipper allowance round through the front of the skirt back to the other side of the zipper allowance, and that is the very measurement you'd use to make your ruffles to avoid any excess. After doing that, you're going to place your ruffles on it like so, and then you start stitching from one end to the other. So you can see the way I'm placing my ruffles on the hemline. That is exactly how you're going to do it, and make sure you're stitching with the exact seam allowance you have created. So I'll take this away to go fix and then bring it back to show you guys later on. So now we'll be cutting the sleeves, and this is one side of it. As you can see, it is folded in two. So if you're cutting your sleeves, make sure you have enough piece to cover up for the length that you would want. And this sleeves is going to be a high puff sleeves that is a little bit fitted. So I'll be using 9 inches for my sleeve length, and I have 11 inches. As you can see, I'm measuring now, but in total I have about 15 inches for the length. So I'll just go ahead to mark 9.5 inches, 1.5 inches for hemming the lower part, and half inch for the seam allowance on the shoulder line. So from this point I placed my measuring tape. I'm going to come down by 5.5 inches, and on this line is where I'm going to take my bicep measurement, which is 8 inches on fold, but because it's not going to be fitted, I'll add 1 inch to the measurement. So I'll take down the measurement, and on my hemline I will take down the measurement for my round sleeves. So here I have the measurements marked out there. I used 13 inches, that is 6.5 inches on fold. So on the start point, which will be my shoulder line, I would go in by 5 inches, and on that point I'll come down by half of an inch. So I'm going to connect these points together down to where I have my bicep measurement, and from there connect down to the hemline. So guys, when I get to the hemline, I'm going to come out by about 1 inch, so that when I fold the hem allowance in, it will still get to the side seam line. This first line is my sleeve length, and the second one is my bicep. So now I'm going to include my seam allowance of 1 inch. Remember, I already have my seam allowance at the top of this sleeve, so the next thing I'll be doing is to cut this piece out. You know guys, if you want your puff sleeve to be higher than this on the shoulders, then just go ahead to increase the length on the cap, that is the top of the sleeve. So now I'm just going to fold this part in to show you how it will look like after stitching. You can see the way I'm folding the cap to show you how it's going to raise up after stitching it together with the dress. Okay, that's for that. Guys, you can decide to make your sleeves a longer one, that is a 3/4 sleeve or even a long sleeve. I'm sure it's going to come out pretty well. So the next step to take, because we are done with this dress, with the making of this dress, is for me to go fix this to complete the look. So now this is the final look of my dress. Isn't this very beautiful? I really like the outcome because I think it fits pretty well. So guys, if you enjoyed this tutorial, do not forget to like and drop your comments. And also, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell so you always get updates whenever I post a new video. So for now, I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.